You asked me a question the other day about All-Stars, and I gave you a little bit of a surprising take, I guess. We went through it and we're like, well, Sanchez, yes. Schwarber, yes. Harper, I think yes, in part because of who he is and where the game's being played and the home run derby. I know he talked about that last week, actually. He was asked, like, will you participate in the home run derby? And he said, I have to make the game first.
Yeah.
And I interpreted that, and I think I'm right. I think Bryce Harper's like, yeah, if you want me to do it, you better put me in the game. I really think that's what he was saying, honestly.
Yes.
I know that kind of comes across as humble, but I kind of took it as a threat. Yeah. So I think he's in the game. The one guy that I was like, oh, he's having a great year. I am happy for him. I have all the respect in the world for him, but I don't think he's in the game is Brandon Marsh. And, he comes out this weekend and he takes it to a different level. I don't know what else you can say about this guy. He's homered now in 3 straight games. He homered in every game this weekend. He knocked in 5. He had 5 total hits and 12 at-bats. He's up to 338 now. I don't know, man. Like, he has a 368 on base percentage, a 521 slug. There's a difference between saying, hey, this guy leads the National League, and this is the difference for me now, by the way. There's a difference between saying this guy is hitting 333, he's leading the National League in hitting, but then you look over and see that he has the 9th highest OPS out of any outfielder in the National League. Between that and then saying, well, he's hitting 338, and oh, by the way, his OPS is like 50 points higher than it was when we last talked. 889 is a lot different than 845. 889 is like borderline elite. And I'm not saying that he's going to stay there, but if 3-4 weeks from now he's sitting there, he's in.
Yeah.
He's got to be in.
Yeah, he hit 500, as Bayman says, he hit 500 on the homestand, which is insane, right? It really was, especially since the White Sox kept throwing lefties out there too. He's getting hits off lefties, which he never could do before. And as our buddy Ford says, we say it when the Phillies bats don't hit, so we got to say it when they do. And Marsh is on fire. Bottom line, he really is. I am more and more impressed with Brandon Marsh with each passing game. Like, I watch his at bats, and it's a whole different approach now, Bob, than he used to have, right? We joke, everybody's talking about him now being the all-time behind Ty Cobb and batting average on balls in play, right? Which, by the way, originated on this podcast a little over a year ago. But the fact of the matter is that, like, in the past, the reason we would say that he was so high is because he would strike out so much, because he would just not have a great approach at the plate. He would make so many mistakes, especially against lefties, just swinging it at junk. He has now tightened that up really. He is forcing pitchers to throw him stuff in zone that he can do damage with. Like, that's what has really impressed me about Marsh. And it just took a while for him to get here. And the reason that I put Schwarber on the thumbnail is Marsh said the other night, he said he's been picking like Schwarber's brain, not just Schwarber. He said the other lefties. He said Harper as well, and Bryson Stott. But like, he specifically was talking about Schwarber, saying that, talking to him about what it's like or what he thinks about or how he approaches left-handed pitchers, and he's kind of put that into his practice and then what he's doing in preparation and in what he does then in game against lefties. And it's made a world of difference. And so the fact that he's more than functional now against left-handed pitchers, and he can be an everyday player in your lineup, and we always knew he was good against righties, that has turned him into what he's become. And you're right. This season, and look, it's still early June. We saw this a couple years ago with Alec Boehm, right? He had that incredible first half
of 2024. It was insane.
And then he completely fell off the map after that. So who knows what ends up happening with Brandon Marsh? But for right now, the way he's approaching every at bat in every game, I just love what I'm watching out of him.
Yeah, look, a couple numbers here against lefties this season. Hitting 294 with a 327 on base percentage, 451 slugs, 778 OPS. Now look, it's 51 at bats. But we sat here a couple weeks ago and said, it's only 38 at bats. Before that, it was, it's only 30 at bats. Like, I get it. And by the way, like, there are plenty of productive players that have like splits against them. Like, he's not going to be a 900 OPS guy against lefties. Like, he's not. That's okay though. Like, he doesn't have to hit 294 against them either. Like, if he can just be competent, if he can put together competent at bats on a consistent basis where he's at least a threat, that's all you really ask for, given what he's doing from the, against righties. And so the elevation against left-handers to actually be able to put together quality at bats has been really big for him. I start to wonder, like, we had this conversation the other day on Friday morning, and it goes to show, it does illustrate to a degree how early it is still, but he had an 841 OPS when we were having this conversation on Friday, and it's at 889 right now. And that's what 3 homers and a double will do for you over the course of a weekend. You go back and, like, this is where you start to make the case for him and say, like, you can't discount what you're watching. Since May 1st of last year, remember, he got off to just an all-time horrendous start at the beginning of 25. He was hurt. He came back.
Didn't have a hit in April.
Yeah. I mean,
it was 0 for April.
0 for April. So let's go to May 1st. That's funny you say that. Let's go to May 1st, 2025 through right now. That's 602 plate appearances. So we're not in like small sample size land here.
That's a full season, basically.
It's a full season of at-bats. And again, he was protected against lefties last year. So since then, he's hitting 316 with a 362 on base percentage, 495 slug. It's an 857 OPS. Of all major league outfielders since May 1st of last year who have at least 600 plate appearances, or I'm sorry, at least 400 plate appearances. So I did that to include other guys. I mean, keep in mind, he's at 600, so I'm not manipulating the volume of plate appearances to make this look better than it is. Brandon Marsh is 8th in OPS. Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Byron Buxton, Ronald Acuna, Corbin Carroll, Mickey Moniak, George Springer, Brandon Marsh. Those are your OPS leaders since May 1st, outfielders of last year.
It's wild, right?
It's wild. Brandon Marsh leads them all, by the way, and by a decent margin in terms of batting average, too. Since May 1st of last year, all major league outfielders, 400 plate appearances or more. 316 batting average. The next highest is Alec Burleson, 294.
Yeah. He gets on, man. He's
getting
on with hits. Like, it's great. It's great.
So let me ask you this. Brandon Marsh, 28 years old. He'll be 29 in December. He's still pretty young. He is making, I believe, $5.2 million this year. That is a steal. Next year, he hits his final season of arbitration eligibility. And after that, he becomes a free agent. He'll be 30 years old when he's a free agent, the first year when he's out of team control here. Phillies don't have to make this decision yet. I don't think that they will. Obviously, there is labor uncertainty looming, which throws a wrench into this entire conversation. So I will ask you 2 different questions. One will be easier to answer. First question is, will the Phillies do another deal with Brandon Marsh? Should the Phillies do another deal with Brandon Marsh? Because guess what? None of us would have ever considered this a year or 2 ago. We'd say, well, no, trade's been a win. They got the better of the trade, but this is not a guy. You need to change up the lineup. You got to do it somewhere. We'd also would have assumed that Brandon Marsh would be a guy that could go out and get big time money. I mean, if you would have asked me a year or 2 ago, what does a Brandon Marsh contract look like? If it purely a free agent, not buying out any arbitration years, like, I don't know, 3 years, $45 million. You're looking at a player right now up there with some pretty lofty company. This doesn't look like a player that's going to be 3 years, $45 million as we're talking right now.
It's a great question, Bob. And I hate to do this because I really do think it's going to be dictated by what happens with the new CBA ultimately. And I think that the Phillies are going to use that as their rationale because they don't have to sign him now. They don't have to give him a new contract right away. So they have the luxury of seeing, can he sustain this for the full year, right? Or does it go away? But if this is the way I'm going to answer your question. If he is this guy for the remainder of the season, right? If he's putting up mid 800s OPS, hitting over 300, being a really productive player for you, then yes, you should want to re-sign him. But you don't do it until after the new deal, because if a salary cap is put in place, that will dictate a lot of what his value is, right?
Sure.
Or if there's not a salary cap, if the players win this war and there is no salary cap, then you need to know, what the value is based off of what it would be on the open market with everybody having all that money to spend on him. So I think that, yes, they should, but not now and not before the new deal is put in place.
Okay.
Is that a good enough answer?
I think that all makes sense. I just found myself wondering for the first time, really. I mean, because we can sit here and do all the superlatives like Brandon Marsh is awesome. Where would this team be without Brandon Marsh? And then you start to look at like just how good it has this been, not just this year in 65 games, but like let's pull in basically a full season sample here and see how he stacks up. And when you start throwing around some of the names that I just rattled off, it's a pretty elite company. So
yeah.
Really, you start to zoom out and say, well, what does this look like moving forward? Do you make him part of your future? And when you consider who he is as a person, or what he seems to be as a person, and his fit here, the way that I think that he's generally viewed within the organization, it's going to present quite a decision for this Phillies team to make, because he's not going to be cheap, salary cap or not, however he fits in and what that does to deflates the opportunity, inflates the opportunity post labor agreement. He's going to get a good piece of the pie.